Hello everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show. And on today's programme we have lots of lovely guests. First of all, we have internationally acclaimed scholar Dr. Brian Little, who's taught at Oxford, Carleton and Harvard Universities, and will be talking to us about personalities and how we can cope with the festive season. We also have our regular coach, self-development coach Chris Browne, who will be talking about questions you must ask yourself so that you can develop further. We also have fitness expert Jane Wrafter, who will be helping those who are new to exercise, and also singer-songwriter Dan Omari will be here to tell us about his career as an independent artist and be performing Love Is You by Chrisette Michelle. And we also have the news, of course, with Ian and Helena. The show wouldn't be the same without them. Hello.
Thank you for saying that. We are bouncing with so much news tonight.
Look, we're talking at the same time as usual.
As usual.
Okay, one at a time.
Helena can go first.
Okay. Well, there's something that I think was really, really very sweet. It's not royal, I have to say, but it's about a Swedish extreme sport team and a scruffy little boy called Arthur and a meatball.
Oh.
Don't know if you know the story, but
No,
it's really sweet. So this team went to Ecuador and raced through the Amazon jungle, and it was something like 450,000 mile endurance test. Anyway, part of the race through, they stopped for a break, and the main leader gave a little dog a meatball that he saw, a stray dog, and then the dog just joined them as the fifth member for the whole rest of the journey. And it's, you know, kayaking and through the dangerous
dog or a
Amazon.
boy?
A dog.
It's a little dog.
I thought you said a boy.
I said a
boy
scruffy
dog.
little boy.
You did? I was like, oh.
Little boy dog.
That was just as a little twist.
I didn't want to stop him in mid-flow.
No, but I said that on purpose. I said that on purpose. But
Right.
it's just so sweet because
Yeah.
he didn't stop for the rest
bless.
of the journey. But the amazing thing is now they've adopted him and he's gone back to Sweden. He's going to be with the family. But it's just so
That's
sweet.
such a nice
so
story.
lovely, little dog.
Isn't that a great
For
story?
that, yeah.
I love shaggy dog stories.
Alfred, his name is.
Do you have a dog?
I don't have one, but I do love dogs.
Oh, do you?
They're
have a
so
dog?
loving.
I used to have dogs. I used to have dogs. So I love
You
dogs.
did, didn't you?
So, big royal news tonight. Huge, humongous rows going on ahead of William and Kate going to New York tonight. Buckingham Palace have made a decree that any media crew, any television crew meeting William and Kate or even being in the surroundings of William and Kate must be properly dressed,
Oh.
which has gone down like a lead balloon, as you can imagine.
Very unusual. It's very unusual for them to make that
in the media world in
statement.
New York.
Well,
And they've said sort of things like, you know, that they must wear suits. Everybody must wear suits. The camera crew, everybody
the
must.
camera crew, but they
Camera
don't even
crew-
appear on anything.
Camera crew, everyone must wear suits. There's
very
no
odd, isn't
trainers. This was a specific sort of term. No trainers, and the Americans don't even know what trainers are. So they've sent an email. They sent an email back sort of saying, "What are trainers?" And so this huge round sort of started out tonight, where it sounds now. You know, the stories we were hearing coming out of New York tonight were that all the media are going to turn up in very casual clothes and boycott William
That's
and Kate.
naughty as well.
And boycott William and Kate.
I can
if they
understand
don't
why,
accept.
but you know, if you want to cover the story,
It's just an odd thing for them
it
to
is. But I wonder
state.
what does she not give any like reason? Like,
It's
unusual?
just really, you know, where this has come from. We do not know, but you know, it's a row and making. And what it can do is that you can
I
actually
think I might
destroy-
demand from my camera crew and everybody to wear suits. I think it'll be quite nice. We can take lots of.
I must admit,
We can take lots of lovely pictures.
I feel a bit undressed without my top hat tonight.
We should have a dress-up day. What do you reckon, guys?
Absolutely,
That would be fun.
absolutely.
That would be fun.
If you could see the look on their faces.
I know,
viewers.
no.
Also, just another thing that I found really interesting, which slipped our radar completely, is that one of the photographs.
How can it slip your radar?
Because we know everything royal, and today.
Yeah, normally a few months before it actually, you know, before anyone else does.
But it's
Absolutely.
like, Jason Bell obviously has taken quite a few pictures of Duke and Duchess and Baby George, but there was a photograph released by way of a thanks, and it was signed by William and Kate, after the royal tour in Australia and New Zealand. So they sent out these thank you photographs to special people that helped them. But this photograph wasn't released, and it was absolutely beautiful, because we'd only seen at that point a profile picture of George.
But it
Only
can
today,
happen.
it's just bizarre.
It can happen
They
at
didn't
times.
release it, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen at times because sometimes private photographs are taken and it's done as a thank you as well.
Yeah.
Because there were sort of certain official photographs of the Queen, for example, the Duke of Edinburgh, Charles, in all sorts of regalia that are actually sort of presented.
That's a very different, it was quite a relaxed shot, similar to ones we'd seen, but different. Wow. Anyway, you know, one of those things.
Who checks them? Who checks through them? Is it actually the royal family that check through them, or do they have people that do that?
They have their media team that work with them, their PR team.
I would still want to see the pictures if I was there.
Yeah, they're just hiding them from us. Hiding them from us.
When you took the pictures, Ian, of Prince William,
yes,
did they pick certain ones, or did you have loads left over?
No, I mean, in those days, you had total control. I had total control over what went out.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And really, the history behind that was there were certain shots that were required. So there was a big, bold headshot of William was required. Yeah. There was an animated shot, which is the shot that I'm quite so famous for. And then after that, there was Diana throwing William up and down, and William on Charles's knee, almost looking like he's being sick after being thrown up and down. So we were allowed to choose. There wasn't any.
Okay.
The only stipulation was that we couldn't actually create precedents for different media groups. So if, say, 6 photographs were chosen in the end that went out across the world, they were available to anybody. And we couldn't sort of just give one to one person.
And you only had, was it 7 minutes you were given?
7 minutes.
7 minutes to, wow,
7
pressure.
Minutes.
Pressure.
Well, you did great.
No, I didn't have my top hat on that day either. You see,
what were you wearing that day?
I feel so underdressed
Do you
tonight.
remember?
Now we started talking about this.
Do you remember what you were wearing that day?
I did. Well, I was wearing a suit.
Okay.
In those days, in Fleet Street, if you didn't wear a suit, you didn't work. They would send you home. And there was a sort of a precedent in those days as well. So for
you were skinny bean, weren't you?
I was just for 2 weeks before, and I hadn't eaten. You know,
nerves.
It was the most nervous period of my life. But anyway,
yes,
another story.
Sorry, went on to Ian.
That's okay. Ian and
About
his pictures.
Yeah,
That's okay. So the International Emmy Awards and Educating Yorkshire, which is a great programme. It's the one. It's the relaxed programme that's done so well, because we have so many of these programmes like Only Way of Essex. I do. I like that. That was reversal. I do watch it, and it's really good fun. It's amazing. It's basically a school in Yorkshire, and they go in and they film all the students and the teachers and how they interact and all the upsets and how they. I mean, it really is very clever, and it's the best programme because it's not scripted. So for it to win an international Emmy is pretty good.
Well
so that the format is amazing, and it's actually going to China now.
Ooh.
So imagine that, it's pretty good. And they're all quite famous, these children and teachers.
I'm not sure how we can tell you the next story on the list.
Really?
Yeah. Well, actually, no. So sleeping naked is very good for you. 1 in 3 US
Not if
people.
you have pets.
For lots of reasons. It trims your waistline, you're less exhausted, cuts diabetes.
How does
There's
it trim your
loads of different reasons why.
Chrissy, don't go into this too
it's
much.
To do with heat.
Why are you going to eat?
This is a Helena special.
No, it's not. But I mean, the thing about it is that apparently your temperature has to drop by, I can't remember how much, by a little bit in order to sleep.
Yeah.
But if you've got your pyjamas on, a lot of the time it doesn't happen. So when you're wriggling around, etc., you're overheated, you don't sleep. So, I mean, and it's all to do with the blood vessels and various things. But it is a proven fact by Dr. Chris Browne. That's all right, director of Edinburgh Sleep Centre. But anyway, no, I just
if
found
you're single, it's kind of it's a bit lonely, isn't it? You get colder, you don't sort of. Anyway, let's move on.
I think it's very clever. Moving on.
Go on a safe one now, please. We don't want to get ourselves banned.
So Kendall Jenner, 19, one of the Kardashian sisters, is doing incredibly well and is set to take over Kim. Yeah, set to take over.
Really?
She's very different in look. I don't know if you've seen her. She's very tall as well. I think she's 5'9.5", so she's very model-esque. And she's now doing the campaign for Valentino. And she's very sought after. And in fact, a lot of people, such as Cara Delevingne and other models, are sort of shaking in their boots because she's about to take over. She's only 19.
Wow.
It's amazing.
And there's the big annual war of the models happening very shortly. The big battle of the models. Model of the Year is decided in December. And this year it's between Cara Delevingne and Jordan Dunn.
24.
Who is going to be crowned Model of the Year. And it's big money, because whoever has decided, they can gain a lot more campaigns from it as well. And looking at all the Christmas campaigns, as I have been at the moment, and we've been looking at Christmas stories for you, we're thinking ahead right now. The amount of money that's been spent this year, just on one commercial alone, they spent £7 million filming it.
Oh, wow.
But it obviously works.
Gosh. We've got
But
to
with
go
reference
to break.
to break,
Time's
really?
up, yes.
You are joking.
Time's
Goodness
up.
me.
We're
We've
talking
not
too
done
long about
any
you,
of
weren't we?
that,
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for
Okay.
sharing the news with us today, and
No
we'll see you
problem at
again
all.
on the next show.
Thank
you.
All right, so do stay tuned, because after the break, I'll be speaking to Dr. Browne Little about personalities and how we can cope with the festive season. And of course, we have our fitness tip with Jane Wrafter.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the show. Now, before we go to Dr. Browne Little, let's take a look at this fitness tip from Jane Wrafter for those who are new to exercising.
Hi everyone, I'm talking to you today if you are not exercising at all at the moment, okay? So I want to talk to you if you're completely new to exercise, if you're feeling really unfit, really out of shape, and you don't know where to start, okay? So I'm going to give you some tips on where you should start. So the first thing that I advise everybody who doesn't exercise at all is to start with walking. You've got to start with some small steps, incremental steps, and build up your fitness. And walking is the best thing to start with. So start walking on your own with a friend, with a dog, whatever, it doesn't matter. Get out there, get your trainers on and do some nice fast walking. And from there you might want to step up to perhaps jogging or joining a class. And if you've got injuries or conditions that you've got concerns about, ask to speak to the instructor before you go to the class. Ask if the class is suitable. Ask if they've got time to chat through your injuries, your particular fitness levels. If you've got concerns, obviously go and see your GP. That's always a good thing. GPs don't mind you doing that. They're very happy to see you. They'll give you a check over, check your blood pressure and so on. It's always a good idea to do that. But start slowly. If you do go into a class environment, take your time, take it easy, don't overdo it, because the last thing you want to do is get an injury and then put yourself back to square one. So take it slow, small steps, walking, find the right class for you and build your fitness step by step, and you will get there in the end.
Thank you very much, Jane. So now I'd like to introduce Dr. Browne Little, and we're going to be speaking about psychology of personality types. Is that right?
Yes.
Did I say that right? Okay. Yeah, because I'm going to learn too today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Delighted.
Well, we've been having an interesting chat, and we kind of forgot about the viewers, didn't we? Had to start the show.
We did. Actually, we could have gone on for 2 hours.
Yeah, I know. It was really fascinating. So do tell us what's new.
In the field of personality psychology, there's been a recognition of a group that has really been marginalized over the last, in the last 2 or 3 years, this has been recognized. And it's the introverts among us. And a good number of your listeners and viewers are going to be introverted. And they're often misconstrued. They're seen as being shy. And in fact, they're not shy necessarily at all. They're simply very sensitive to stimulation. And I often describe myself as being an introvert.
Even you do so many
biologically-
talks.
Oh,
and so
yes,
many...
and I'm seen as an over-the-top extroverted professor. and my students never fall asleep in class. There's a reason for this. This is that we often act out of character. So as an introvert, if I were to give a low-key, soft-spoken, yes, you're right, it would not work at all. And so I need to act out of character, and I have to act out being an extrovert, but I'm not a real extrovert. Extroverts have a need for stimulation. So, for example, with the Christmas season coming up, the extroverts are going to love the crowded stores. They want that stimulation. They love the big parties. Unfortunately, they love alcohol, and that's one of the worst things for them to love. Whereas for introverts, it actually helps them a little bit. Extroverts do better on caffeine, and introverts shouldn't have caffeine. So an introvert coming on your show who is offered coffee is
You're going to tell us off, Brian.
They're going to get over-buzzed, and they'll speak nonsense.
Oh, that's
or
interesting.
something close to it.
Maybe we should do a little questionnaire before they come in about their personality.
You should actually offer them something to drink that is not caffeine, but just a little. In fact, I heard one of your guests asking if she might have a glass of gin before.
They normally do it when they're nervous, though.
That's right. Yeah, I'm not advising introverts to drink more alcohol, but I'm just saying that there's very subtle influences of personality on everyday behaviors, such as what we drink. We interact in different ways. Introverts prefer not to stand too close. Extroverts like to stand really close.
Yeah.
In this kind of an interview, we'd be pulling closer if I was an extrovert. A lot of body contact, usually unsolicited. They actually use more diminutive names. So if I meant Charles, it rapidly becomes Charlie, and then Chuck, and then Chuckles baby, whereas introverts like me will call him Charles until we're given permission to go to a more intimate level.
Okay. Now, just sort of listening to what you said, and I did do a little bit of my own research before the show to see what it actually meant. I always thought, honestly, an introvert was someone that was very quiet, was very shy, didn't like to be around people. But when I was reading up on it, I did find something that said exactly what you're saying, actually. It's just they're people that like to be alone, maybe to think, and I wouldn't have described myself as an introvert, but after I read that, I realised that I actually am an introvert because though I like people, I love being around people, I can only stand it for a while, and if it's a lot of noise, I tend to kind of switch off, and my mind starts wandering, and I actually need a break from people. And for me to sort of, when I'm thinking about my work, I need to be on my own. I can't have, and then I'm ready for a meeting with other people, but I need to think for myself first.
That's me too.
That's you.
That's me too. And
you see, I'm on par with the professor here.
In Me, Myself, and Us, which is the name of the book where I discuss this, I talk about the need for restorative niches. And that's what you're describing. A restorative niche is where somebody who has acted as a pseudo-extrovert out of professionalism and sometimes out of love, they can do it for a certain period of time, but then they need that little respite. They need that restorative niche. And I think if they don't get it, they run the risk of burning out.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about the holiday season, because it's very stressful for some people. So how would introverts deal with the festive season?
Introverts have a motivational tendency, which is that when they scan their environment, they tend to look at the punishment cues that are in that environment. They see, if in evolutionary terms, they see predators all over the place, whereas extroverts see prey. They love to follow positive things. So on the show, for example, an extrovert might see somebody faintly smiling and say, "They love me, they love me," whereas an introvert will scan and see somebody faintly frowning and say, "Oh, I'm failing miserably." Same with the holiday, same with Christmas. That the introverts say, "I'm not going to get things done in time. They're not going to like my Christmas pudding." They never do. And they'll really not like it this year. And we've got too many people coming, or not enough. The extroverts say, "Chill, enjoy it, be happy."
Can someone have a bit of both, though? Because the things that you're talking about there. So even though I would describe myself as an introvert, in some respects, but with things like that, I've also got a very positive mind.
Yes.
So can you sort of be different depending on different situations?
The largest group, and they're not well known, are what we call ambiverts. They're right in the middle. I'm not very big on putting people into pigeonholes as extroverts and introverts. I don't even think pigeons really belong in pigeonholes. There's a large group. It's a dimension rather than a type. And in that dimension, right in the center, are ambiverts, and about 37% of us would be regarded as ambiverts. And they can sometimes, when you're overstimulated, want to act out the role of an introvert and need that restorative niche. But
am I just confused then, Brian?
I'm sorry?
Am I just confused then?
No, you're complex and sophisticated.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That's a nice one.
Was that the right thing to say?
Yes,
right.
definitely.
Okay.
You're doing well. Okay, so what about now? Let's talk about the extroverts now,
Right.
because obviously, from what you've described so far, it sounds like they're not going to have much of a problem with the holiday season, or is there a chance that they will also kind of burn out?
Christmas is so overloading that even extroverts can have enough of it, can't they? It is a very tension-inducing period of the year. Extroverts are very capable of being resilient in those times, though. And I think that the problem they may have is they may not realize the cost they pose for more introverted people. They say, come on, be happy. This is a joyous time of year. The introvert agrees with that. It is a joyous time of year, but can't we have a quiet joy? Does it have to be wow kind of joy?
Yeah.
And I think the most important message that comes out of one aspect, one section of Me, Myself, and Us, is that we need to be accommodating to the needs of our partners, of our loved ones, and to realize that they may need a different kind of restorative niche.
It's about understanding each other.
Yeah. Extroverts who are busy paying the Christmas bills and have spent 4 straight hours going over very careful work that would be regarded more as introverted work. They need a restorative niche. It's not a quiet place like you and I may want. They need to go crazy. Exactly. Yeah. So we need to be sensitive to this.
Brian, we've run out of time. I'm so upset.
Oh dear. Yes, you probably are. So am I.
Shall we sulk then for the rest of the show? But we have 2 other lovely guests to talk to as well. But
Excellent.
It's been fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And all the best with your book.
Thank you.
Remind me of the title.
Me,
myself,
and Us.
and Us. Okay,
Yes.
Brilliant. I've got to
Thank
read
you.
that one. It sounds really interesting.
Lovely.
Thank you so much.
We'll have a copy sent to you.
Yay!
Cheers.
All right, so do stay tuned, because after the break we'll have on self-development coach Chris Browne, who'll be helping us with the questions that we must ask ourselves if we want to get ahead in life. And I'll also be answering a question from a viewer.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the show. So now we're in the self-development clinic with Chris Browne. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Chrissy.
But as you know, in this section, we always answer a question from a viewer too.
let's
Now,
go
you
for
haven't
the
seen this
question
question
first.
beforehand, but I'm sure you'll have something to add to it. This one's from Joanne, and she says, my father left my mum when I was very young. In fact, I don't even remember him. I was sent to boarding school so I could receive the best of the best, and I personally loved it. But now I'm back home, I'm having problems as people say I talk posh. I don't talk posh, I just don't talk slang. I pronounce my words properly. I'm comfortable, but why are others so negative? I don't have many friends as people think I'm different. I don't think it's wrong to be different. I'm just me. What would you do, Chrissy? Okay, so Joanne, I definitely agree with you. You should always be yourself. But just because people say you talk posh, it's not a reason for you not to consider that person as a potential friend. Now, you haven't mentioned that these people have been horrible to you or bullied you in any way. Just maybe they're just saying something to you. They're just saying that you sound posh. So what's the problem? So if I were in your shoes, if someone said, oh, you talk really posh, I'd say, oh, thanks, that's such a nice compliment. So you can just turn it around. Don't take it as a negative thing. Show that you're actually confident with who you are instead of actually withdrawing from people because, you know, you've got potential friendships there. And maybe when you react in certain ways, it makes people kind of distance themselves from you. So be yourself, talk the way you would normally talk, and just go with it. And you don't need like loads of friends. Just be with, you know, I don't have loads of friends. And actually the friends that I do have, they're quite different to me. And that's what makes it interesting and fun to be with them. So be yourself, you know, don't be negative about, you know, the way how other people perceive you. And you actually see that people will you'll make friends easier that way. So I hope that's helped. Chris, did you have anything?
No, I think there's much to it. I think it's a case of being herself, get comfortable being herself, and guess what? They're going to follow her instead. Don't worry about the other way around. Be yourself and go for it.
All right. So if you guys have a question at home for me, you can email me on chris@chriscbshow.tv. But let's go now to Chris, who's going to be talking about questions that we must ask ourselves.
That's it. Questions that we must is the operative word, that we must ask ourselves. And why we ask ourselves the question is find out who we really are, what we're about, where are we going. Now, I'm going to have a bit of fun with this, and we did this last week, didn't it? We're going to go straight off the top of our head and went for it, right? So let's do this again, right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to put some questions, but I want you at home right now, if you can get a pen, pad, anything you can get to actually jot down, because I want you to reflect back on this.
Should I do it as well?
Yeah, do it as well. I'm going to put some questions through to you. First, I'm going to go through each question, and then after, we're going to see what it actually comes up with at the end of it. Okay?
Yeah.
So, here's our first question. First question is, what is important to you?
Okay.
It sounds very open when I say what is important to you, but in life, what is important to you?
Well, I have a few things. Do you want me
You
to
got
go
a few
into-
things?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, do you want me to
let's
answer
go
the
on.
questions?
Yeah,
or-
actually, yeah, let's
All
go
right,
with it.
so number one priority is my faith.
Your faith.
Then
right.
after that, my husband and
Right.
family.
Okay. Faith,
Then after that, my
husband,
work.
family,
Yeah.
and work. Pick one of them. What's really important to
The
you?
most important is my
Yeah.
faith.
Your
Because that's
faith.
what keeps me strong, yeah.
Okay.
But then my husband's like sort of after that.
Okay, well, funny,
Kind
I
of
think
way.
that kind of drops into the next one, funny enough, with saying that, right? So it's your faith, it's
Yeah.
the main one, and then your husband. If you had to pick one out of them, you'd say
Yeah,
your faith,
definitely,
right? So
yeah.
you at home, exactly the same, write down a question. What is important to you? Don't think about it too much. Just write down lateral thinking, what comes to your head. Okay? All right, so let's go for number 2, right?
Okay.
Now, here we go. Now, who is important to you? Who is important to you? I think you answered it, right?
God, then my husband.
Yeah. All right, so pick one.
God.
All right, so God. God is
Yeah.
important to you. Hey, guess what is important to me as well?
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one, right? So who is important to you? All right, so let's do number 3. What are your, let's say, shall I put a system? Let's say, what are your beliefs? What are your beliefs? And when I say beliefs, I'm not talking about areas of faith and all. I'm talking about what is your belief system in life. So sometimes people say, well, I believe in doing this way because that and the other, or it might be a job, anything. What are your beliefs?
For me personally, I think definitely being honest
Right.
and treating other people the same, not like to treat certain people one way just because, for example, they're better off.
Right.
You know, just to treat everyone
So you
equally.
treat everybody equal. So it's the integrity of it, amenable person, right?
Yeah.
So treating everybody the same. So same thing at home. What are your beliefs? What is your belief system? And let's go to number 4. What evidence is there of your fear? Put it another way. What evidence is there of your fear? What would happen? What proof is there behind your fear? Strange, wasn't it? All right. Should I put it another way? When I say
Please.
what evidence is your fear, what evidence is there of your fear? So the thing that you fear, why do you fear it? What evidence is there that it's actually true? Yeah. So.
But
think
normally
about
there
that at
isn't,
home.
is there?
Well, funny
Depending.
enough, yeah, depending, because something might have happened sometime back before, but we're going to explain it all after, aren't we?
All right, okay.
So we won't jump that yet, right? So same thing at home. What evidence is there of your fear? And let's go for the last one. It's a question that you normally like, right? Here we go. What would I choose to be if I knew nothing could stop me? What would I choose to be if I knew nothing could stop me? What would your choices be? If you knew nothing in this world could stop you, and you had a dream, what would you choose to be?
Well, I'm on that road already
Yeah.
because my motivation is to help as many people as possible.
Right.
So whether that be through TV or speaking in some way
Right.
in front of crowds, so I'm kind of on that already.
Okay.
And even though, you know, you do get sort of thoughts in your head like, what if it doesn't happen and things like that,
Right.
but I just go past that and keep going.
So if we're thinking outside the box and we don't think, what if it wouldn't happen?
Yeah.
And we're just thinking that it will happen regardless of what
Mhm.
you put your foot to. Would it be
Yeah.
presenting? Yeah. Talking to people?
Presenting
Yeah.
in some way or just being able to contact a lot
Help
of people
many
at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
We're very much on the same path. You know, my
Yeah.
thing is helping people as well, all the time, 24/7. So I want you to do that at home as well. If you knew nothing could stop you, what would you choose to be? Okay, write that down now. Now that you've written that down, let's just go back through them. And I jotted a few down here earlier on to go through. Let's just go through number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Okay, so what is important to you? Right? Now, in life, there are a lot of things important. It could be your job, could be your career, could be your family, could be all these things. These things are your motivation at the end of the day. That keeps you going, right? So when you think about it, that's the thing that keeps you going. If you're sincere about it and you wrote it down lateral, straight thing that came to your mind, that's the one that actually keeps you going, right? Okay, so the other one is, who is important to you? that's another motivation as well, because who is important to you, you'd probably risk your life for them. You'd go the extra mile. You'd challenge the things that you need to challenge to get to where you need to get to take that person through and protect them, right? That's a motivation itself. All right, let's do the other one. What are your beliefs? Now, automatically, people also may think like we was talking about faith at the end of the day. No, I'm talking about your belief system. So, because sometimes your belief systems come off things that you grew up with or what you was taught. And sometimes they prevent you from actually doing what you need to do. So I believe that, let's just make up something silly. I believe that honey, can't stand honey. Honey's no good for me. Honey's one of the best things you can actually eat for energy and power. But I had a bad experience some time back. So my belief system now says, anytime I reach honey, that's not the thing. Not my honey, you know, the other honey, not my wife. Right? Every time that's a good one for me, right? Oh yeah. So when you have these belief systems that you have thought about or something happened when you were younger, you've got to be able to break them and find out, well, why at the end of the day? Because that might be the very thing that's blocking you from succeeding. Okay? All right, let's do that one. What evidence is there of your fear? Now, I always go back to Roger Bannister with that. Now, Roger Bannister, he's the guy who ran the 4-minute mile, right? And they said that you won't be able to run the 4-minute mile because what will happen back then, they thought, well, your heart would explode and you'll burn up, right? So what he did, he challenged it. He went ahead, he looked up everything and saw that it didn't exist in the book. So he challenged it and went and did it himself. He did it under 3.5, I think it was 3.95, yeah. But what he did, he's found out there was no evidence behind it. So when I asked that question, what evidence is there behind your fear? You've got to work out, well, what is my fear? Why am I fearing this in the first place? What evidence there is that I will fall off the end of the world if I sail across? We're going back to Christopher Columbus, yeah? Okay, so he challenged that. Went all the way around, came back, hey, it's not true. You're not going to fall off the earth if you go around. It's the same thing with a lot of things that we actually fear. Okay, so here's the last one. What would I choose to be if I knew nothing could stop me? Be it. Do it. Go for it. Because the only things that are stopping you are yourself thinking about the objectives and the blocking that will be there. And if you go for that, that is what you originally wanted to do. At least you know you've tried it. Go for it. Now, putting those all together, when you go for it, you should be able to knock through. You should be able to break through in one way or another. You know, I remember this saying, and it was by John Maxwell. I actually sell it to him. John Maxwell, brilliant. And one of the areas that he says is not what you are that holds you back. It's what you think you're not that stops you. So what you're thinking you're not, you're actually stopping yourself already from achieving that goal. So go through his questions again, right? Think lateral. When I say think lateral, meaning the first thing that comes to your head, write it down. Yeah. Those are the real ones. The ones that you stay there and start contemplating and this, that, and the other, those aren't the real ones. Yeah. Right. So if you want the real answers about yourself and you want to go for it, that's what you need to do.
Chris,
answer those questions.
We've run out of time.
Oh,
that was bang on point. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Pleasure.
And we'll see you again next time on the Self-Development Clinic.
Thank you.
Okie dokie. So we're going to go to a break now, but do stay tuned because after the break we have singer-songwriter Dan Omari who'll be performing Love Is You.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the show. So now it's time to speak to singer-songwriter Dan Omari. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Chrissy.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Very
so
good.
Good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Because I heard you rehearsing earlier. You've got a great voice.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to the viewers hearing your voice as well. So tell us about yourself first of all. Did you always want to sing growing up, or was it something that came later on?
From a very young age, I mean, I grew up in church. And so growing up in church, you naturally become a part of the choir. Sing, you learn your harmonies, go all out, choir shows, what have you. But from a young age, I've always had that burning desire. It was just what I wanted to do, nothing else, never thought of anything else. And so obviously growing up, you go into that path naturally. And so, got on it.
But were your family sort of supportive of that, or were they like, no, I want you to do something else?
Well, first of all, I think my mum always knew. Because as a child singing, growing up, I think they understand the path that you're going to take.
Yeah.
And then when it came to choosing what I was going to do at the end of school, when you're either going to go into sixth form or you're going to go to college and do performing arts.
Yeah.
And my older sister, I remember when she wanted to go into a different area other than sixth form, and there was this big uproar in the house.
It normally is, isn't it?
Stay in
We all go
education.
through.
Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
just went, Mom, I'm going to go and do performing arts. She's like, okay. And so there's no questions. Yeah, they always know.
Yeah. Oh, so it's great to have that support behind you.
A lot of
All right.
support.
But were there any sort of difficulties that you came across in, embarking on this career that you've chosen?
Yeah, quite a few. I mean, there is a lot of sacrifice involved, a lot, especially when you're independent, especially in this day and age as well, with digital technology, the way everything's changed. It's
Yeah.
not so straightforward anymore. And a lot of it you have to do alone, and you have to have that faith. You
Yeah.
have to have belief. You have to have persistence. You're always on the go. You're telling people everything. You have to prove yourself even more these days to, escape this field of people, a mass field. Like everyone wants to be an artist, everyone wants to be a singer, everyone wants to be a rapper these days. And then you've got the artists like myself that this is our love, this is our conviction, this is what we go to sleep thinking about, this is what we wake up doing. So there's a lot involved.
Why did you choose to be an independent artist?
I mean, at the moment I would say it's not a choice. I feel like in this climate it's what you have to be. And even these days, if you get signed to a major label, you still are more or less an independent artist.
Okay.
A record label at the end of the day is alone. You still have to go out there and do everything yourself, and it's changed again due to the digital market. So you're still out there hustling on your own, putting on your own shows. You get a lot of artists that are signed to majors and they're still doing everything much themselves. And me personally, not that I'm bossy or a boss. I'm sure many of my friends that are watching will disagree. I'm thinking well. But I wouldn't say I'm bossy, but I like to be in charge of what I'm doing as well. And have that
you need to
creative
be,
control.
for you to really be successful. You need to take
definitely.
that on board yourself.
When you stay true to what you are and stay in your lane at what you're good at, no one can deny that. You will always be good.
What keeps you going though when things do get tough? Because I'm sure there may be moments when you felt, it's so tough. Maybe I should just sort of give it up. Did you ever go for any
Yes.
thoughts like that?
Yeah, and I put it on Facebook. It was emotional.
Oh.
I think it's only happened about once actually. I just thought, I've had enough of this. Where is this ever going to go? Is there going to be a break? Is there going to be any change? Am I going to be able to make a living from this? What's going to happen? And I just thought, you know what, forget it, I'm giving up. And I wrote this whole thing on Facebook going, I'm quitting everyone, blah, 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 blah. And then I got all these support messages. I was not looking for attention, but I got all these support messages. A little bit.
A little bit, all right.
I got all these support messages and, it was very encouraging. And then the burning desire that I was talking about earlier, if it is what you're meant to be doing, it still does not go away. It will never leave. So no matter how long it takes, you continue.
That's an interesting thing what you said, because you didn't sort of maybe expect to have so much feedback when you did post that. And sometimes it's true with anything in life, when we're trying to succeed, sometimes we're so close and we don't realise actually how well we've done. But if we actually took the time to look back and see how far we've come and actually there is a lot of support for us, then you sort of, it takes you forward as well. But I think everyone goes through things like that, but you just don't realise sometimes how much you have already achieved.
Definitely, even when I was listening to the other segment and Chris was talking about writing things down, if you are ever feeling away or feeling like giving up, write it down. Write down all the things you've done. I've done it myself, and you'll be like, whoa, I've actually done quite a bit actually. Let's not stop right now, let's continue.
It's a bit of waste, isn't it, at the end of the day? Future plans, Dan?
Well, next year, right now, I've got like a little unplugged thing out, what have you. But my dream is always to tour. And so the future plan is to be on tour next year, which I'm working on, which I'm sure there'll be details or what have you. But I had a show last year back home, Wolverhampton, and luckily I was blessed enough to sell it out, had the support, what have you.
Well done.
Yeah, I am actually tooting my own horn there.
That's okay, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, the arena, have you not. But my plan is to tour next year, do a series of dates, get everybody out, enjoy the show,
Wonderful. Okay, so now it's time for the viewers to hear your lovely voice.
Yes.
I'm just going to finish the show and then we'll be back. Thank you so much for speaking to us,
Thank you
and
for
all the
having me.
best for the future.
Thank you.
Okie dokie. So we have reached the end of today's programme, but if you want more information about any of our guests, you can visit the website chrissybshow.tv. And if you have a success story you'd like to share, please do email me, because you could be the next one sitting on the sofa with me having a chat. So email me on chris@chrissybshow.tv. But now it's time to go to Dan Omari with
Love is you.
Love is you. Let's go with him now.
What's the definition of it? How's it make you feel? Tell me what it means to you that makes it real. Kings and queens, philosophers tried so hard to find. Tell me what it means to you, dear, never mind. Love is kind when the world is cold. Love is strong when the fight gets old. Love's a shoulder to lean on. Love is you. Love's like water when the well runs dry. Quench my thirst to keep me alive. Just one sip, oh, love is you. 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 Is it possible there's a kiss that's so divine? Or am I just a fool? Is it all in my mind? Is there something chemical a scientist may say? Well, love must be a drug to make me feel this way. 'Cause love's my permission to be who I am. No inhibitions, 'cause you understand. Freedom to breathe, oh, love is you. Love's like a kiss when the sun goes down. Hold me tight when no one's around. You're the one I hold on to. Love is you. Love is you. Love is you. Yeah. Love is you. Love, it makes me stronger. I don't have to look no longer. You're the one I cling to. When the chips are down, love will stay around. You're the one I hold on to. Yeah. As much as I try to clarify, it's quite simple, she's my girl. Perfect definition, love is you. Love is you. Love is you.